So when it comes to leg entries, there's two main types of entries that you can engage in. There's foot first entries, where from here, spread out a little bit. Yeah. Foot first entry, where from here I focus on having my feet penetrate my opponent's ankle line first. And I'm sure you're all very familiar with some of those entries. One of the pros and cons, one of the pros of foot first entries is that once you penetrate a foot, it means that you're pretty far in, all right, on an attack. So it's a great way to initially start learning how to enter the legs. With that said, one of the cons of foot first entries is that it typically takes much more movement and planning for you to be able to successfully hit a foot first entry. Why is that? Say for example, we're in a Delahiva situation here with Matt. From here, if I want to pummel my left leg inside to get inside position for Ashigarami, watch how much movement my left leg has to make in order for it to come inside, okay? In that time span, Matt can quickly recognize the fact that my foot is now changing position, starting to come around, and he can start to address that as a threat, okay? When you contrast foot first entries with knee first entries, you get an interesting playback between the two, okay? Knee first entries, on the other hand, have a really nice way of taking half of maybe even a quarter of the space that foot first entries require, okay? One of the knee first entries that we're going to investigate here today is the K guard, okay? From here, let's start in a situation where my opponent's leading with his right leg, good, just like so. Matt, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, he's interested in splitting my guard and stepping up the middle. Go ahead. So you can start to dominate either the straight hamstring, good, or the cross hamstring, good, just like so, all right? I, of course, am not interested in allowing Matt to dominate either hamstring, okay? So as Matt goes to step in, I'm going to meet him with the sole of my foot. If I can't meet him with the sole of my foot, go back. If I can't meet him with the sole of my foot, say for example I miss, I can meet him with the palm of my hand. From here, scoop back and then engage with the sole of my foot. From here, I'm going to come through. Once I engage with the sole of my foot, I'm going to come through and I'm going to grasp wrist deep on my opponent's knee. Now, from here, as I said before, there are certainly a lot of foot first entries that I'm sure you're very familiar with. Okay, say for example, I lace shin to shin, I start to drop, and now from here, I post on the far knee, and now we're in an Ashigarami situation. Okay. However, as I said before, what I want to teach you today is forms of knee first entries that actually require a lot less movement to get an initial deep penetration. Okay. So from here, I post, and I grab behind my opponent's knee. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this grip on the knee to pull Matt's far leg towards me. As I pull Matt's far leg towards me, I'm going to start to scoop grip it. Okay, so go back one more time. And as I scoop grip it, I'm going to aim my foot for this hip. Like so. Now notice, all of a sudden what's happened. My foot is outside the line of his ankles. Okay, meaning if I draw a line with his two ankles, my foot's outside of it. However, look what's inside, my knee, okay? And now from here, I grasp around my opponent's knee. You can go wrist deep or you can go palm deep, and I start to put a bend in the knee. From here, I take my leg, we swing around, and I throw up and over the top, okay? Now from here, the whole thing is to create a scissoring action where my right leg extends and my left leg retracts, like so, and that's what starts to drop your opponent down to the mat. I take a C grip on my opponent's ankle, I cup it on the top side of my armpit, and I start to fish for the heel. If he goes to roll through, I follow with my knee. I make sure my knee points down to the mat, and then from here we have a finish. Okay? So one more time, let's look at a scoop dip entry to K guard, which is a category of knee first entry, okay? Distinguishing it from foot first entries, all right? So Matt's going to step up, I stop and I meet him. If he does beat my foot, I stop and I meet him with my hand. From here, I scoop back, touch, and grasp. As I go to grasp, I pull, and immediately I'm already placing my foot in that situation and starting to penetrate with my knee. From here, I go wrist to wrist, I pull down, and I start to throw my leg up and over. If the guy is being very stubborn with not wanting to face away from you, say for example, if Matt's head starts to come towards me, that's a problem for me. Okay, you don't want that to happen. The key here is to take your right leg, extend it, and left leg and curl it. Like so, and that starts to get him to face away. From here, I make sure I get a tight grasp on the ankle. I cup it on my top armpit, and I start to holster the heel. As he rolls, my left knee stays flared and it touches the mat. On 3, 1, 2, 3. My favorite way is to post on the forehead. Once he grabs my grip off his forehead, I'm going to pass the wrist off, strip it, and go elbow 2-on-1, okay? From here, Matt's going to give me a little bit of pullback. Yep, just like so. Once he starts to pull back, I'm going to walk myself towards him and start to post on his hip like so. The nice thing about the hip post interplay is that, as you'll see, once I start getting him into a cycle of me posting on his hips, I force him into a dilemma, okay? I'll go into the second part of dilemma next. But first, I post on his hip. Now from here, I extend off his hip my leg, okay? So I can physically push my foot off his hip, like so. That gives me the perfect angle to start grasping and taking my knee inside and now up and over, okay? From here, same thing as I said before. You want to straighten out that left leg. If he starts rolling through immediately, you want to follow with the knee. Go back, Matt, don't roll through immediately. Matt starts to collapse down just like we did in the previous technique. I make sure I take a C grip on the ankle, I bolster it up, and now from here, we're attacking again. So once again, 2-on-1 foot post entry. Here I post on his head. He grabs my hand. I pass off, 1, 2, and I grab the 2-on-1, okay? Their hand's not going to be straight like this. They're going to be pulling back, so there's going to be a slight bend in the arm. Yep, just like so. Like pull it up with your head. Yeah, exactly like so. That's going to give you the kinesthetic feedback you need to start walking in and post on the hip like so. Once you post on the hip, you can feel how that hip post allows you to swivel your body around his, okay? So with that hip post, I'm going to swivel my body around and get my knee in that optimal situation where I can start to penetrate, okay? Let's do it one more time with a little more speed. So I come in, I post 1, 2, I post, and I shoot right in. Did you guys see how when I do it with momentum, it actually gives me a deeper entry, okay? Before I wasn't doing it with momentum, so my knee wasn't really penetrating that deeply, but when you do it with momentum, you get a deep penetration. From here, same thing. We take the ankle, we holster it on our top armpit. If he goes to roll through, I follow through with my knee, look down from that, and then from there we finish. Okay? Go 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now this time, instead of scooching myself forward and posting on the hip to get our K-guard entry, I'm going to take my foot, I'm going to post my opponent's lead leg. Okay? Very, very similar to how I taught you earlier to post on the leg. From here, with this 2-on-1, I pull. What that does is it brings the far leg to me. Okay? Now, after that pull, just as we did earlier, I'm going to take my foot, place it on the hip. Okay? After I place my foot on the hip, we're in the same essential dilemma here, where if I push off this leg, I have K-guard entry on the far side. Okay? And you can play side to side here, pushing off the hip to get K-guard on either side. And that's what I was telling you guys earlier about the dilemma of side to side hip posting, where from here, once I start to get Matt into a vicious cycle of hip posting, I can post and swivel, post and swivel, post and swivel. As you can see, I can chain the swivels side to side and pick which side I want to shoot K-guard to. Okay? So we're here, I post on his forehead, I grab the 2-on-1. I block his foot and I pull the other leg to me. Once I pull the other leg to me, I drop, I post, and I scoop grip, okay? I connect my hands together and I throw it over just like we did earlier. From here, if he's starting to get up, it's not a good thing for you. Think about extending your right leg, curling your left, like so. From here, I take my foot, I take his foot, and I place it on my top armpit. He starts to move through. My knee points down to him. Okay, one more time. He's standing. I post on his forehead. I get 2-on-1. I block and get him to step forward. Off that step forward, I enter the K-guard. Scissor. Turn him. And we finish. Okay? 1, 3. 1, 2, 3.